Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to my interview show here. And I have Marc Brener here to talk about his new film, Rumperbutts. So, Marc, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
Awesome. And I guess before I jump into my questions, I guess if you want to introduce yourself a little bit to the viewers checking out this interview.
Yeah. So, I've worked in film and television and theater, for a while now, and spent a long time in Los Angeles, and several years ago came up with the idea for this movie, and kind of put it all together slowly over some time, and moved to Connecticut to film the movie, and now a few years later, here we go. It's coming out into the world.
And that's awesome. And that's actually a very nice segue into my first question, which generally is, how did the project come about? How did you get involved?
Previously, Jason and Corey and I from Maid's Estate, they did a song for a short film I wrote and directed. And a year later, they were on tour in Los Angeles. We got together for lunch, and I said, how would you guys feel about like trying to make a feature film musical? I love the movie Once, and the Rumperbutts is not Once, but I just love the idea of music involved in helping with the storytelling. And so I pitched that to them, and then wrote the script, and moved to Connecticut, and away we went.
And that's such an interesting, it's a strange connection, but it still has that spirit of musicians with a dream, because I love the film Once, and I love a good musical, anything that's like focused on music and showing that, and definitely had a ball with this film. So luckily I got a chance to check it out already. And I guess what sounds like, at least you brought up a little bit of this, but what were some of the inspirations to coming about for this specific film?
Yeah, I think a few things kind of happened where, one, I spoke about before, just wanting to do a musical theme type of movie, but more of a comedy. And two, I don't know. I mean, you watch some of those shows like the Yo Gabba Gabbas of the world, and you wonder if, like, is that actor playing that role? Is that what they've been working for their whole life, or is this a kind of a job to pay the bills? And I think we all of us as people in this world, whether one is someone who works in the arts or not, there's always the dream job that you want to have that pays you, and then there's the job you have to do. And I think finding that kind of balance in this film was what I was trying to do.
And that's such an interesting question to pose and think about. That kind of, I could see how that turned into this film. It's like, is this what they really want to be doing? And because it's like, you see performers like that, it's like, obviously they have a lot of energy because they're dealing with kids and stuff like that. And it's just like, is that like put on? Is that actually there? Do they feel very passionate about this? And obviously you get to see that a lot in this film. Now, I guess in terms of, obviously from watching the film, this seemed like a lot of fun, but I guess what was the thing that you enjoyed most about making this film?
I don't know, getting to work with Jason and Corey, who they'd done a little acting, obviously great performers, but acting, it's a different thing. And they took the bull by the horn, and they found an acting coach in Connecticut, and then I moved out there, and then just getting to work with them, and the stuff that I kind of learned over the years of showing them little tricks that I just learned over the years that they could take into their acting skills. And then what was great too is it worked both ways, because they were like, I remember it was specific, after they had the wild night, the first night with Richie, there was no scene before in the original script of them in bed talking about what was that? Did that really happen? And they came back to me and they said, wow, well, I think we're missing that part. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. And so it was just a great, wonderful back and forth of taking the blueprint of the script and making it better, working with actors. And the same thing with the rest of the cast, Josh, Arian, and Vanessa. I learned so much from them, and we had a great back and forth. So I think that was probably the number one thing I really enjoyed, just getting to work back and forth with the actors and making the project better through the help of cast and crew.
And honestly, that's a really common answer that I get to that question a lot. And how couldn't it be? You're doing a job. What really makes it the people that you're working with?
Yeah, definitely.
Getting a chance to connect with them and create something together, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, I always like to ask, because, obviously we're here to talk about your film. And what is the one thing, like that one selling point that you would tell somebody why they should check out the Rumperbutts?
Can I say two?
Go right ahead.
All right, thank you. I'd say number one is the music and the soundtrack. It's just fantastic. And number two, I think in a time where we could use a bunch of laughs, I think there's some good laughs and smiles in this cute little indie.
I can attest, having watched the film, I didn't go in with too many expectations, and
that's what everyone should do.
Yeah, because honestly, I got the screener and I start playing this, and I was laughing from the start. And I'm just
awesome!
This is hilarious, and the music's a lot of fun, and just was not expecting this. And I definitely had a wonderful time, and definitely think that hopefully a lot of people show this some love, because and especially with having the pandemic happen, I think this is a great time to really take a deep dive into VOD and check out some smaller films and stuff like that. Now,
yeah, there are a lot of people still at home.
Yeah. And obviously it's there's so many movies to check out there, and this is definitely one that people should check out. Now,
thanks, Shane.
Obviously I asked a couple of questions specifically geared towards the film, but let's get to know you a little bit. So this is probably the question that either people are like, oh, this is an easy question, or they absolutely hate getting asked this question. But Mark, what's your favorite film?
I'm going to go with a double answer again.
Okay.
And I think it's a great question. And it's Casablanca and JFK. I think those are the two most incredibly crafted movies, pieces of cinema ever designed.
I remember seeing Casablanca for the first time, and they were doing one of those Fathom events, the TCM Classics, and they were playing in a theater. And I had been with a friend of mine, and I'd never seen it before. And it surprised me how funny and sharp that script was, and I was not expecting that. And it's just this, I feel like this could have come out today and really killed it. And a lot of people would go out and go see this film.
There's a story, and who knows if it's true, but someone a few years ago, it took the Casablanca script and just changed the title, and no one, every studio passed apparently, across the board. This was, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, but who knows how much they changed the script, who knows if it's true, but you're right. There's so much wit, and the supporting characters are fantastic. And, Louis, just how funny he is and how much is going on with his character. And if someone could write a script like that today, it would be a huge hit. Yeah.
And obviously I feel like a film like JFK is always going to be relevant because politics. So there you go.
Because politics. Yeah.
Now, I guess, what was the point, or was there a specific event or watching a particular film that really was that was the moment that you knew you wanted to get into film?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think I ever had that moment. I remember having a camera in my hand a bunch as a kid, and I gotta plug my terrible battery in. Hang on one second. I mean, for sure early on, E.T. was magical. That was something that I was like, oh my gosh, that is unbelievable. And Indiana Jones, and but I don't know. I really kind of went into the business just okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'll figure it out. But then, like, later in life, when I started like really like seeing people like David Fincher
Mhm.
and the Coen brothers, and just what they did with a movie, and I think just seeing stuff like that, I'm like, wow, that is phenomenal. Oliver Stone or Casablanca, like just the details and everything. I think it was just an overall collective of, you see a movie 20, 30, sometimes 50, 60 times,
Yeah.
you start to see other little things in the background that you didn't notice the first 20 times. And so it just, I don't know, it's kind of like looking at a piece of art that just keeps getting better and better. I think that answered it, kind of.
Yeah. And obviously it's like when you have those moments where it's like you had like a camera as a kid and you're just doing your thing as a kid. And obviously that time with like Indiana Jones coming out and E.T., those were magical moments in cinema. And I'm a huge fan of the Coen brothers. They're my favorite filmmakers. And they definitely inspired me to want to like really get into film and dig deeper. And yeah, every time I watch something like The Big Lebowski, something just tiny pops up, I'm like, I don't know if I ever noticed that before,
Right. Yeah.
but
It's so true. Yeah.
just so many great details all along the way. Now, I always love to ask this question because, it brings back like a special time in everybody's lives when they really connected with movies. But what's the earliest memory that you have of going to the movies?
I mean, for sure, E.T. Um, and definitely, I feel like I saw Empire Strikes Back in the theater, but not Star Wars in the theater. Yeah, so unless it was like a re-coming out kind of thing, but yeah, I think Empire probably with my dad was an early one, and then yeah, some early Spielberg, Indiana Jones, and so I don't know, somewhere in my single digits for sure.
Yeah. Spielberg and Lucas really making a big splash there in the early 80s.
I mean, they dominated it.
And it's interesting because having grown up, um, having seen Star Wars probably for the first time in the late 90s, I've never seen the originals, like the actual cuts of the films. It's always like the special editions.
Uh,
And I wonder what it was like actually seeing the original films in theaters. Because watch now and you just have random CGI aliens that weren't supposed to be there. And, lines that weren't there originally. But, with technology, you could go back and change all kinds of things, right?
right, exactly.
And I guess in terms of, I always love to ask this question and kind of hitting on like one of the last big ones that I like to ask is obviously you have to have some kind of connection to film to really get into this because it takes so much to be able to make a film and go through and be able to do that. But Mark, what do you love most about movies?
Just how they can make you feel. You can see something 1,000 times and it's still certain jokes just make you laugh. Or you go see a new thriller and it just has you on the edge of your seat, and whatever. It just I love how it just entertains and makes you feel. Yeah. It's sad. I haven't been to the movies in the theater, and I can't even tell you the last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to go see multiple in a day, and so I missed that. I really missed that, and hope to one day do it again.
Yeah, I was definitely in the same boat before the pandemic of like basically every Thursday night, if there's multiple movies coming out, like I would just watch two of them in the theater that night and just enjoy that. And I've been slowly going back to the movies and, like you said, that feeling that they can make you feel. Like I saw The Night House back at the end of the summer. I was the only one in the theater. And I'm just sitting there like a couple moments of like, like this is creepy. This is a big dark room. There's nobody else here, or at least I don't think there's anybody else here.
Yeah, right.
And being able to have that feeling of watching a film. Now, Mark, I know I personally getting a chance to check out the film had a blast with it. The music was so much fun. I I had some of those songs stuck in my head for quite a while after watching it. So I
They
do really,
stick, yeah.
yeah, I do really hope that people go show the Rumperbutts some love. But wrapping things up, Mark, I guess I'm going to allow you to plug your film a little bit. Where can people find it?
It's going to be all over, all over digital platforms, Amazon, the usual places,
Mhm.
Dish TV, Canadian VOD, all over. And you can always go to Global Digital Releasing's website to see where everywhere it's playing.
Awesome. Mark,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure
Shane, thank you.
getting a
It was
chance
really
to
nice
chat
meeting
with
you.
you. And it was
Yeah.
very nice meeting you as well. And always love talking movies with people. So, Mark,
Yeah.
have a wonderful day. And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.